Greetings, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another Kids STEAM Crafternoon. My name is Miss Aftan, and I am the children's librarian here at the Alexander Hamilton Library in Waynesboro. And first, I want to apologize if you hear any construction noises. We're kind of reconfiguring some things in the library while we're still closed for COVID-19. So if you hear any weird sounds, that's what it is. But today, our STEAM challenge is a really fun one with lots of variations, so it's great for different ability and interest levels, and it draws inspiration from the classic story of Rapunzel. Now, you might be familiar with Rapunzel because of the Disney movie Tangled, which is a great movie, really fun. But today we're going to be thinking a little farther back to the Brothers Grimm retelling from the 1800s. And the story of Rapunzel actually goes back farther than that. So it's a pretty old story, but that's what we're sticking with today. So if you're not familiar with the Brothers Grimm version, it goes something like this. And we're going to kind of simplify it a little bit so we can get started. So there is a man and his wife live next door to a witch, and the witch has an amazing garden in which she's growing some beautiful, delicious looking lettuce that's actually called Rapunzel. So the name of the lettuce is Rapunzel lettuce. So the woodcutter, or the man's wife, becomes pregnant, and her cravings are so strong, and the only thing that she wants to eat is this lettuce from the witch's garden. But the witch is not willing to share. So finally, she starts to waste away the wife because the only thing that she wants to eat is this lettuce. So the husband makes a deal with the witch where if the witch will let the wife eat some of the Rapunzel lettuce, they will actually give the witch their child when it's born. Crazy deal, but it's a Brothers Grimm story, and they often have some crazy deals in them. So the baby is born, and the witch takes her away. When she's 12, the witch locks her in a tall tower, and the girl's hair grows long. So every day the witch comes to see her, and she calls, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." And so Rapunzel is named after the lettuce that her mother craved. And so Rapunzel lets down her long hair, and the witch crawls up, and every night the witch goes away, leaving Rapunzel alone in her tower. And so one morning before the witch gets there, Rapunzel is singing, and walking through the woods comes a prince, and he hears Rapunzel's beautiful song. And so he waits and watches and sees the witch call, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." And then, of course, down comes the hair, up goes the witch. And so the prince learns, this is how I can visit Rapunzel. And that's what he does. So each night the prince calls to Rapunzel to let down her hair, and they become friends and fall in love. And then the story ends with the witch finding out about the prince. And so she cuts Rapunzel's hair and kicks Rapunzel out of the tower. Then she tricks the prince into climbing up at night by lowering the hair herself, but the prince is surprised when it's the witch in the tower, and so he falls out of the tower and he survives, but he ends up getting scratched by thorns in the eyes, which makes him blind. So he wanders for years searching for Rapunzel, and it's not until later when he hears her singing that he finds her again, and then her tears when she sees him fall onto his eyes and heal him, and that's the end of the story. And they live happily ever after, going to the prince's castle, and finally they have a happy life. So that's our story of Rapunzel as told by the Brothers Grimm, roughly. Today we're going to be thinking of a way that we could climb Rapunzel's tower without having to call for her hair. All right, and we have a really easy system. So today we are going to be making our very own simple elevators. Let's get started. Okay, so first we're going to start with our easy level of elevator to make an elevator that will go the whole way up Rapunzel's tower. The very first thing we're going to need is some sort of elevator car. And my suggestion is to just grab a toilet paper roll. All right, so this is a cleaned toilet paper roll, and you can see when I turn it, I've gone ahead and added a decoration on there. So I wanted my elevator to be like a rocket ship. So I just used some marker. You can use crayon. You don't even have to decorate it if you just want to get started. But we'll take a toilet paper roll, and then with our toilet paper roll, the only other thing we need for our easy level is some yarn or some string. Now you can see this is quite a clump. So I need my string to be pretty long. You want your string to be extra long because we're going to be doubling it to put it inside your toilet paper tube. So these are the only two things that you need for the easy level of elevator making. What we're going to do is make your string double, so fold it in the middle to make a loop, and then that loop is just going to go right through your toilet paper roll. Now, all right, super easy. All I have to do is take this loop and put it on the top of the tower. So I could use this on a doorknob. I could actually get a piece of tape and I could tape this on the top of a bookshelf or even on a wall. All right, you just take this so that it's up in the air, and then the easy part is once you have this hanging wherever it is, you're just going to use friction and we're going to make our toilet paper tube rocket or elevator fly. So to make your toilet paper tube move, you're just going to take your two strings and pull them apart. Now you can see this is pulling my string out. What will happen, because you have your loop held up at the top, it's actually going to make your toilet paper roll rise. All right, so again, just take your string, so a long string, make a loop in the middle, put it through your toilet paper roll, put the loop on something high up, and then pull the strings apart to make your elevator fly. Super easy, right? And super fun because it's really fast, and so you can get to it really quickly. Now, if you are feeling a little more ambitious and you want something a little more complicated and a little more engineering level where you have to think about how you're making it so that it'll work properly, we're going to put that toilet paper tube aside, but I'm actually going to use the same yarn. So this works just fine in the second level. So our next level up is going to start with a piece of thick paper. So this is just an extra blank piece of cardstock that I had here at the library. If you're using one of our steam kits, you'll get one of these too. And you can use a blank piece, or of course, if you want to, you can decorate your own. So I went ahead and colored and cut out a hot air balloon for this elevator because I thought it'd be really fun. All right, so I have the front with my decorations and the back side. For supplies, you're going to need your paper, your yarn, then you'll also need two little pieces of a straw. So I just cut these off of a plastic straw that I had, and it doesn't matter how long they are, just try to make them about the same size. So I have two straw pieces. An extra option you can add is some pony beads, so beads with the big hole in them. We'll tie this to the end of our string when we're done to make sure that the yarn doesn't pop out when we're ready, okay? Then, of course, at home, so all of this is available in a steam kit. So if you want to stop by the Waynesboro Library during our curbside pickup times, it's Monday to Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m., Friday 3 to 5 p.m., and then Saturday 9:30 to 11 p.m. All of this will be in your steam kit, but at home, you'll need scissors if you're going to cut out your elevator device and to cut your straw and to cut your string. And you'll definitely need some tape. It doesn't matter what kind of tape, you just need it to be small enough that it's going to take these straw pieces and we're going to tape them on the back, which is actually our next step. So I'm going to set my beads to the side for a moment, set my string to the side. I'm going to take my elevator cart, all right, and once I have my design already cut out, I'm just going to turn it over on the back. Then I'm going to take my two straw pieces and I'm going to put them around the middle. Now you can see, depending on your shape, you might want your straw pieces to be up closer to the top. Like for mine, since my balloon loops out this way, closer to the top might be a little bit better. If your shape is bigger at the bottom, you may want your straw pieces to be at the bottom. This is going to be like where you put your booster pack. All right, but I'm going to take my tape and I'm just going to tape these so that they are up and down. They are vertical on the back, straight up and down. And I'm just going to fold that little extra piece around. So I have one straight up and down. I'm going to do the same thing to the other one, because this is going to be, like I said, it's like your jet pack. This is where the string is going to go through. So we need it to go up and down because your elevator is going to go up and down. If you put them sideways like this, it would move like this. So you can certainly try that, but that's not what we're working on today. So next, I'm going to take my string and I'm going to do the same thing I did with the toilet paper tube, where I'm going to go to the middle and fold it. Then I'm going to put that to the side, and then I'm going to find the two ends. So I'm going to take one end and put it through one straw, and depending on how thick your string is, it might be more difficult. It might be really easy. Mine was pretty easy. I just laid it down and fed it through. All right, and now the last step, like I said, this is optional. You can take your string and you can just tie it in a knot at the end, or you can take your string and put it through a pony bead. Ooh, this might be a little more difficult depending on your string. All right, we're gonna put it through our pony bead, and then I'm gonna tie this so that my string won't fall out of my elevator car. Now, if you want your string to come out because you're using it for your paper car and your toilet paper roll car, then don't do this step. All right, so if your string is pulling double duty, you don't have to add these on the end. But if you want to keep your string in here, then this is a good idea, just to be a blocker at the end. And I'll show you why in just a second after I get this knotted on here. So now when I take my string and I try to pull the string through the straws, you can see it stops and it won't go anywhere. So that's what I want. All right, now I can turn my elevator around and you can see, all right, pretty cool. We've got a hot air balloon that's ready to go. So if I put my string on something tall, again, just like the toilet paper elevator, the toilet paper tube elevator, you can put it on a doorknob and then sit on the floor. You can tape it to like the top of a bookshelf or higher up on the wall. You can even have an adult hold it up in the air by the loop. But I'm going to take my two strings, and when I pull them in opposite directions, I've got my loop connected, and now it's time to pull. And there goes my balloon. Now again, I put this sideways, so it's just going down that way, but when yours is up, it'll be like climbing the tower. So let's take a look at what's happening. All right, so when we have our string through the toilet paper tube or through the two straws, when we go to pull it, we're actually pulling in different directions than the straw is leading the string. What happens is we're building up friction here that helps the straw climb up the yarn. Because we're using the opposing forces, which means forces that are pulling away from each other, it forces the straw to start moving up along the string. All right, when we put our string together, now this won't work now because it's laying flat, but when it's up and down, when you move your strings together, we lose that opposing force. And now you can see, when I put my strings back together, it's straight. And all of that friction, all of that rubbing that happens that helps the straw move up the string stops. So what's going to happen is it's going to slide back down. The same thing happens when you do your toilet paper tube. It's just your toilet paper tube will act like one big straw where you get those two opposing directions, creating friction, pulling the string or pulling the straws up the string. And when you put them together, when you put them straight down through the toilet paper tube, you lose that opposing force and down they come. All right, so that is climbing Rapunzel's tower. Do you want to see it in action? Let's go. So now it's time to test our different elevator systems. And I thought, what better place to test them than climbing our very own library castle. So you can see I've taped my string to the wall of the castle. Like I said, a doorknob works great. Just loop it over that. Or you can tape it up on something or put it up on something tall, or even have someone hold it for you. Right? But first I'm going to test my toilet paper elevator. All right, so this is our really, really simple, easy one. And I just have my loose string here. So I'm going to put my string ends through my toilet paper tube. All right, Now you can try to make sure that they're not twisted. It's not really a big deal because the tube is so big, so it'll just twist around anyway. But now I'm going to take my two ends, and remember, we're going to pull them in opposite directions because we're making that force, that friction or rubbing that forces the roll to start climbing the string. So let's do 3, 2, 1, blast off! And the wider I pull, the higher it gets until it goes the whole way to the top. And if I pull a little bit wider, my arms aren't that wide. All right, it can go even higher. Now, when I put the string together, what's going to happen? The friction will disappear because the opposite force will go away and the toilet paper tube will come back down. All right, so really easy and really fun. You can just keep flying up and down, up and down. You can even have races. So if you and your brothers or sisters make some of these, you can all tape them in the same place and then race up the wall and see whose is faster. All right, and now I'm gonna put my toilet paper tube rocket down, and it's time to test our level 2 straw elevator. All right, so mine is the hot air balloon. So I'm gonna do the same thing where I get the ends of the strings, and with this one, try to make sure that there's no twist in between the string. All right, if you do, it'll just twist your elevator around. So I'll take my two ends, and it's time to pull apart. Woo! And it goes the whole way, that one got the whole way to the top. So we used friction and opposing forces, so that rubbing and that strength that goes in opposite directions to push it up. When I put the strings back together, down it comes. So really fun and really easy today for elevators climbing Rapunzel's tower. We hope that you enjoyed it. Again, if you're in the Waynesboro area, feel free to stop by to pick up a STEAM kit. They are totally free, and we just ask that you limit the number you take to how many you'll actually use at home. We also have some STEAM kits from previous weeks, so if you missed growing your own beanstalk or making your own light up wand, last week was building your own marshmallow throwing catapult, which was pretty fun. Right, we've got extra materials left, so feel free to grab those too at our Alexander Hamilton curbside pickup. So we'll see you next week for another STEAM Crafternoon. Woo! That's actually really fun.